I'm Elaine Rackley with Breaking Through News. I recently sat down with 6th District Congressional candidate Jenifer Lewis to talk about the upcoming election. Democratic candidate Jenifer Lewis is facing Republican candidate Ben Cline for the U.S. Congressional seat. Lewis and I recently met at Living Word Worship Center in Waynesboro for our interview. I understand as a child you were interested in politics. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I grew up on a dairy farm, so I grew up knowing that you got to take care of the land in order to get a good crop in order to feed your family. So that connection to the environment has always been there. And in 5th grade, my best friend Cheryl came up with the idea of let's start an environmental group. And it was, all we did was pick up trash along the road. That was the first kind of civic thing that I ever did. And that, even though it was kind of a small project, you were able to drive down the road and see the impact that you had. You picked up the trash, the street looked better. And that was kind of my start to wanting to think, I might want to run for office someday. And it's something that I've been writing about in my diary, that it's just something that I wanted to do. And so I was always very cautious in my adult life, knowing that I was eventually going to run for office. So, deciding to run when I moved to Waynesboro, deciding to sit on different boards and commissions, just serving my community, volunteering in different aspects, for the Boys and Girls Club, Big Brother, Big Sister, and then got involved with the Waynesboro Democratic Party when Obama was running for his first election. And I first started doing voter registration at the farmers market over here at Constitution Park. They let me just set up a table and I was doing voter registration, and started at the farmers market. And then there used to be a kind of a club here in Waynesboro called the Hot Spot, and they would have live music every night of the week. And the owner of that business let me go down there and do voter registration when he'd have live music. So that was my first kind of really political thing that I got involved in, was voter registration. And then before you know it, I was vice chair of the Waynesboro Democratic Committee, and then here I am now running for Congress.
So when you think about your past and some of the things that you've participated in, was there a public figure that you admired? Was there a politician that you looked up to?
Well, my aunt, she was the mayor of the town that I grew up in, but the town next to mine. So in 6th grade, she was a female woman mayor. And so that in 6th grade was my first seeing a woman in that leadership role. So I would say my aunt was definitely a big role model for me as just being a female politician. And, she had kids at home and was working. And I just thought that was just the coolest thing, that a woman working with kids could also be mayor of a town.
And what was her name?
Sue.
Okay.
Same name as my mom.
Okay. Sue.
Getchus.
Okay. So is she proud of you now?
Oh, of course. They've donated to our campaign. Yes, they're very proud.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about your college years.
Sure.
Did you ever participate in politics during your college time?
Not so much, unfortunately. And there was opportunity for me to do so, but I was working 2 jobs in college. So I worked a minimum wage job in the morning. I was the campus mail delivery person, so I delivered the mail to all the dorms and all the buildings on campus. And then I went to classes during the day, and then in the evening time, I worked at KFC for minimum wage. So there was so much more that I could have gotten out of my college experience, but I was just working so much. I mean, I did have a little fun, let's be honest, but definitely didn't get to do the political stuff that I really would like to have done if I would have had more time.
So your jumping into the political scene came when you joined the Waynesboro Democratic Committee?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
So Sandy Hall, who is currently the chair of the Waynesboro Democratic Committee, I don't even know how she got my number. But she called me one night and she said, we're looking to increase our membership. Would you like to start coming to meetings? And I was like, yeah. It was literally that simple. It was a phone call from another Democrat saying, we need you to be active. And I showed up, and I haven't stopped showing up since.
Waynesboro Democratic Committee Chair Sandy Hall says Lewis can beat Ben Cline in the congressional race.
We have a chance to put someone like Jenifer in office. Well, I think she's a lot better qualified than he is.
Do you have any concerns about the Democratic Party right now?
Well, yeah. I mean, when I joined the Democratic Party as an 18-year-old, signing up to register to vote, The way I understood the Democratic Party is definitely more aligned to who I am. You know, fighting for the working class, fighting for health insurance, fighting for kind of the people that have been left behind. And I have sadly and very disappointed to see that we've gotten away from our roots as a Democratic Party, but I'm really excited to see that I think we're starting to get back to that, where you're seeing more Democrats wanting to be endorsed by the unions, which I'm very, very honored to have the endorsement of various union organizations in the Valley and up and down the 6th District. And just seeing the Democrats get back to our roots of fighting for the working class, fighting for health insurance. But one of my biggest things, one of the things I'm very, very passionate about is campaign finance reform, is getting money out of politics. We can't be talking bad about the Republicans taking money if we're taking money too. So our campaign, we're not taking any corporate PAC money, we're not taking any special interest money. And that, when I can stand up and say, when I go to Washington, I will only be held accountable to the constituents of the 6th District. I'm not going to be getting a phone call from some corporate donor saying, hey, I donated to you and now I want X, Y, and Z special favors. And we're getting a lot of good responses and a lot of good feedback from the folks of the 6th District that they really admire that. And they want that of their elected representatives. So I'm hoping that when we win in November, other politicians will see it doesn't take millions of dollars to run for office. It takes a lot of work.
One of the co-founders of RISE, Chanda McGuffin, says she admires Lewis for being cautious about campaign contributions.
I knew that Jenifer did not take donations from special interest groups, and she always noted like the NRA and things like that. But even special interest groups that she does believe in or support, she did not take it from them as well, because she wanted to do a grassroots donations. She wanted to involve the people in her election and to getting her to Washington. And so she did not want special interest groups to control her election and after she gets into office.
I know personally that you've worked a lot with RISE, a social civic organization. Yeah. Is that the only organization you worked with?
No, I mean, we've been endorsed and working with the Indivisible groups, the Our Revolution group, and there's a really big chapter up in Nova, which is not our district. They have actually driven down to the 6th District to canvass for us. So we are working with a whole bunch of groups. But of course, being from Waynesboro and being a member of RISE, that's definitely the one that I get most excited about, because it is my hometown and I have big hometown pride, and just being so excited when I'm driving around Waynesboro and I see all of our signs everywhere. That just means so much to me. Obviously, I love seeing the signs anywhere in the district, but when I see them in Waynesboro, it's especially emotional to me.
What's the most impressive thing about Jenifer Lewis?
I'm a fighter. I'm very dedicated to my community. And for the last 12 years, I'm very honored that my community has been Waynesboro. And now that that's expanded to the 6th District, I have met so many amazing people in this race, up and down the 6th District. I might get a little emotional, as I always do with you, that, you know, it's amazing. It's just simply amazing to meet these folks, these volunteers up and down the 6th District who are fighting so hard for us to win because they know of everything that's on the line.
What goes through your mind as you're driving along, you see all these signs, vote for Jenifer Lewis, November 6th?
It is surreal. I have really not processed it all and everything that has happened in this election, because I just can't. I don't have the time to really process everything that has happened. And there's times that, you know, we did 2 events with Senator Kaine 2 days ago. And I'm like, Senator Kaine gets up on stage and says the most wonderful things about me. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, last year, I would have been somebody sitting in the crowd listening to Senator Kaine. And to share a stage with him is, I mean, there's some days that I'm like, I can't believe that that's me up there on stage with Senator Kaine, because, you know, almost everybody in the world probably knows Senator Kaine, not only for all of his amazing work that he's done, but also he was Hillary Clinton's running mate. So everybody knows Senator Kaine. So it's it's really just surreal most days that I just can't even believe that this is my life.
So let's go back, since you brought that up. Let's go back to the presidential election. Election night,
Yeah,
watch night.
yeah. That was a rough night. That was a rough night for America, and for a lot of people. And I think what I don't want to happen in this election is I don't want people to wake up after the day after the election and say, I wish I would have done more. Because I know that's how I felt after the presidential election. I literally fell to the floor, and I said, I didn't do enough. I didn't do enough to make sure that Clinton and Kane got elected. And that's something that I don't ever want to happen again to me personally. So that's why I've always been a volunteer for every campaign, but it's just when you feel like you've done enough, take it another step further and do more, because there's always more to be done.
Now, the fact of the matter is that Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine
They did win Virginia.
did win not only Virginia, but they won the popular vote in the U.S.
That's true. That's true.
So had that not been an electoral college,
It'd be a whole different world right now. That's for
so
sure.
right now you're going around campaigning with the actual vice president of the United States.
I like the way you think.
Well, there is still an investigation.
That's true.
Let's talk about some of your campaign promises.
Yeah.
Have you made any?
Promises, that's a strong word, because I am not running to become dictator. So when I go to Washington, I'm going to have to work with other people. So I don't like to say necessarily promises, because you can't promise anything. So the only thing I can say is that I'm running on the platform and the beliefs that I have and the things that I'm going to fight for. So like the example of minimum wage. So I want to see the minimum wage get up to $15 an hour. Now, if I get to Washington and they say, we got to negotiate on this, 15 is too much, could I negotiate? Sure, I could negotiate at $11, $12 an hour with the hope that we could progress up to 15. And we really need to redo how we raise minimum wage anyways. It currently is not keeping up with the rate of inflation and the cost of living, as a lot of people are aware, because they're living it every day. So there are some things that they're on my wish list. They're things that I'm very passionate about, but I know, being a freshman congresswoman and in the climate that we're in right now, it's going to be hard to get any of the things that I want 100% of the time. So I would never say, I promise, I'm guaranteed that I'm going to be able to get this done, especially in my first year, especially as a freshman congresswoman. Those are just the things that I am very hopeful that we can get done.
Your critics have some concerns that you're saying things just to grab their attention or just to grab their vote. What do you say to that?
Well, that's politics is getting up there and talking about your platform. So these are not just things that I don't believe personally. Everything that I talk about on the campaign trail, all of our platform pieces, are things that I personally believe. These are things that I personally want to see our country move in that direction. So to say that I'm just saying it to get votes, that's just not true. Because if that's just not who I am. That's not how I could operate. And for folks who know me well, know that I have no filter. So if I was saying things that were not true, I would just have a hard time keeping up with all the things that I was saying that were not true. And I would catch myself in some sort of big lie, and it would just not be good for anybody. And most importantly, it's not good for democracy to get up there and tell lies. So I will always be honest and upfront with everybody and anybody. So when I stand up and say, I want to see Medicare for all, I'm not just saying that. That's actually what I believe. And especially being a mental health worker, I definitely want Medicare for all to benefit the clients that I serve every day and to serve our community every day. So it's disappointing that people don't understand that that's the nature of politics, is getting up there and saying what you hope to accomplish, what you want to see for your district. That's all I'm saying.
Wakil Idewu attended a listening session with Lewis at the Lexington Democrat office.
I came here because I heard that Jenifer Lewis wanted to reach out and speak to the black community. I think it's important to hear from everyone that's running for office, just because everyone's community is not the same, and there's going to be different thoughts and opinions, and I just wanted to hear it. I just wanted to hear what she had to say. I thought it was pretty good that she reached out to the community, and I also wanted to hear what folks in the community had to say as well.
Were you impressed with anything about Jenifer Lewis today?
Definitely impressed. I'm impressed at the fact that she opened up, that wanted to even hear the concerns of the folks that she'll be representing. And I think a lot of the concerns that she has and she's heard of that she wants to address are the same concerns that not only I have, but also some of the folks that were there as well.
Virginia's Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax also hit the campaign trail for Lewis. One of their stops was in Harrisonburg.
And I want to say hi to your next Congresswoman. She's right stepping up. Jenifer and I were together on Saturday.
I'm a huge fan of his, and I think I can say that this area is a huge fan of his. And the reason why is because he was willing to stick his neck out, and even though Ralph Northam, who he was on the ticket with, was pro-pipeline, Justin Fairfax listened to us and came out against the pipeline project. And the group that I am president and founder of Friends of Augusta, which is a pipeline opposition group, we endorsed Justin Fairfax. And when he came to our area, I mean, we just greeted him with loving arms and thanked him so much, because we were so used to people in his position and higher than him not listening to us and not hearing the truth about these pipeline projects and how detrimental they're going to be to our communities.
According to Lewis, every voter should educate themselves about the candidate of their choice.
I encourage everybody to look at the two candidates, figure out what your values are. So if you value the things that I value, like family, community, taking care of one another, lifting each other up and not tearing anyone down. If those are your values, you're probably more aligned with our campaign. However, my opponent has values of his own, and his website doesn't detail very much, and I'm not trying to slam him at all. That's just the facts. His website does not detail very much of his policies or anything like that, but he claims that his values are conservative, and that's his words. So if that's more of your value and your alignment, then you might want to look at him as well. If you're looking for someone who wants to privatize Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare, that's my opponent. If you're looking for someone who's looking to privatize public education, that's my opponent. If you're looking for someone who wants to get rid of the EPA and doesn't have very many concerns about the regulations protecting our environment, that's my opponent.
Lewis winning the 6th district congressional seat could be historical.
When I'm elected in November, I will be the first woman to ever represent the 6th district. In 2018, we are still breaking down barriers, and we still have so many more to go.
In Waynesboro, Elaine Rackley for Breaking Through News.